That's what cartoons were dangerous.
Every anime is Pokemon to every like older adult. Like
Wow,
my
wow, wow, wow,
uncle,
wow,
that's
wow.
his favorite go to. Pokemon, or he calls it Pokemans, and Inuyasha. He doesn't say Inuyasha, right? Yeah, Inuyasha.
And
That's what I said.
Have you seen the Pokemon movie yet? Have you?
Oh yeah,
Pikachu?
we talked.
Oh, you talked about it. Yeah, you wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, it was alright. It wasn't that great. I mean, it was fun to look at the Pokemon in real life, but other than that, like their storyline wasn't doing it for me. But I mean, the box office begs to differ. Apparently,
Yeah, it's killing.
yeah. Apparently, I think did they say that they all like they passed Endgame?
Yeah.
They said the box
for the
office.
weekend.
Or they're
For the weekend.
close. They're pretty close to it, so they haven't all the way passed.
John Wick did that.
Yeah. John Wick.
So yeah, John Wick crushed.
Well, yeah, that was a good movie. I went to go see that.
Oh, so you saw
4DX. Yeah, I would suggest people go utilize
So
this.
wait a minute. Let's pause for a 2nd.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. I'm new to the show and I'm a little bit what they call ignorant. 4DX?
Yeah, I never heard of it until I went.
Lloyd says, blow his mind one
putting
time.
us on some rich people stuff because he's rich now. But anyway, yeah. So we went to the King of Prussia, their movie theater. What is it? The Universal Studios Theater, or whatever. And they have this thing to where, like, you know, those 4D rides that they have in the mall, to where the chair moves around and stuff, and it has little effects to where it might.
Yeah, I did something like that in Baltimore on the harbor one year.
Yeah, exactly. And they're on the boardwalks
like
and stuff.
water and mist in the back of your neck. And
Exactly. So is that in a movie theater setting?
Now wait, excuse me. John Wick had a lot. Now I haven't seen it yet, but everything that I've deduced, the gunplay was amazing.
Well, that's like a staple of the series. Like what he does, like the training that he does beforehand. Have you ever seen Keanu Reeves on range?
No.
Oh, brother, he's a beast. And he had what's my girl?
Halle
Berry out there with him.
Yeah.
And she was putting
I didn't even know she was in it until people started talking about it until it came out.
Yo, I put it like this. I would not want to see either one of them on the streets.
No.
These actors is not slouches. I mean, I know they got bodyguards and whatnot, but they don't sleep on them.
They like pull up.
Yeah, they want all the smoke. Especially the action stars like Tom Cruise and all of them. You know he got to. You can't do but so many fight choreography before you really want to learn how to whoop somebody's behind.
Right.
Exactly.
Like Will know how to hold his hands.
Before you want to put that stuff to the test.
That's right. Exactly. Oh yeah, Tom Cruise only 5'4". He has been in 27 action movies and a samurai. He know what he doing.
Yeah.
Facts. Facts.
Dangerous.
So we got a lot.
There's certain people I went and ran when I ran into on the street and had a problem.
No, definitely not.
No, definitely wouldn't want to run into like real life Wesley Snipes.
No, real life Wesley Snipes is a whole ninja.
Like Michael Jai White.
Oh yeah, Michael Jai? Yeah. He's an official martial artist.
Yeah, like some of those dudes, like real life could break you down to the compound.
Donnie is my man.
Chuck Norris. People sleep on Chuck.
I don't know. I think you can take Chuck. I think
you can take Chuck if you want.
I said I can take 75-year-old Chuck. I don't know. I think I can.
I don't know, bro.
Said 75.
He's like 87 now. Chuck Norris is 93.
Oh, well, yeah.
Chuck Norris is 147. I'm telling you, I can take Chuck.
147.
Give me Mike Tyson at 102. I still don't want that problem.
Yeah, not at all. Especially, and he was in Ip Man 3, and he was still swinging them bombs.
Yes, like he was hitting them, like it was getting blocked.
Listen, Mike is still a deadly boxer.
Yes.
Deadly people don't become less deadly as they get older. They just learn how to adapt to hurt you better.
Exactly.
He learned how to. And now that his son about to come after you too now. So.
I don't want no problems. I don't need no vengeance.
Yeah, because what was it? He had this thing on Facebook where it was like some guy who was like bullying people apparently, to where he would like pick people, innocent people that he knew didn't really know how to box and like really hit them hard.
Oh, that guy.
So then, Mike Tyson's son apparently like taught him a lesson.
What?
Yeah.
This guy was legendary for going into gyms. It's saying like, you want to box, and he'll throw you the gloves. So as soon as you grab the gloves, he just starts going in and starts attacking you.
Yeah.
I've seen that video.
That dude, him and his dad, like him and his dad was
Yeah.
doing it, just going from gym to gym, and he got to this gym, and this young boy, 16, lit him up, and he tried to say, "Stop, it's okay." He took off his gloves. Boy went bop bop. He just kept hitting them because they saw the videos and they recognized him. That young boy was nice.
Listen, note
That
to
young boy was
self,
nice.
note to self, don't walk into anybody's boxing gym and pick
Don't do
fights
that,
with
yeah.
random people because you don't
Especially
know
boxers.
who knows what.
Be like
Definitely
square up.
Yeah, because you catch the right one on the right day. I've seen enough Dragon Ball Z to know that you need to check power levels before you go after anybody.
Right.
Oh, God. But we don't have scouters yet.
No, I got a scouter. I can look at that.
Wait a minute now. I was going to say.
The hood didn't taught me how to scout.
Exactly.
Oh, you're talking about
Exactly.
different
Let me
kinds.
see. Let me see.
Exactly.
Hair braided, pants 45 degrees below his waist, tattoos on the forearm, dirty fingernails. His power level's over 9,000.
Oh my God. Fingernails though.
Yeah. Every good fighter has
I
dirty
got nothing to
fingernails.
lose. Look.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't been to an actual job in an entire year, and I work out every day.
Oh, so
Like,
that's why
exactly.
people
And if
try.
you look at a dude do like this, it's a wrap, yo.
Yeah.
If it's his pants, it's a wrap, yo.
If pulling up your pants
Right.
ups your strength level +2.
Well,
So
So
we got to watch for that right foot to step back.
Oh yeah.
You watch for that right foot step back.
So you remember when we were kids, before
Square
a
up.
fight, they used to put shoulder to shoulder and spin around for like 45 days before anybody was allowed to swing. Then
Yeah.
there was the evolution of real fighters, where that step back meant I'm taking a stance.
Exactly.
It wasn't no
He
more.
was bracing, getting leverage, all at the same, and powering up all at the same time.
You can hear a faint.
One step back.
Before we leave,
man.
Like remembering back in the days, my old heads, they used to tie your sneakers together. You just put boxing gloves on you and tie your
really?
sneakers together. Yeah, it wasn't no running in the streets.
So
wait,
So
what?
now, hold on. Now, what they used to do for us, they put a tire in the middle of the street, and you had to step in the tire.
Okay.
But this is when we used to box. Like we
Right.
used to actually get the gloves and the headgear.
Right.
And-
We had gloves that like stayed tied to somebody's fence
That's
all year round.
all year round.
What? So nobody just.
No, nobody
that-
ever just stole them.
No,
Like,
you didn't.
Better not see them.
Those was neighborhood gloves.
Yeah,
Just
you
like you
have
could
to.
put up the crate and you could come
Yeah.
back and play basketball.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Put
You
gloves.
didn't mess with that, yo.
Boxing gloves. That's
Boxing
crazy.
gloves. Legit. They was
I don't know
16-ounce
about
gloves. When we was kids,
Yeah.
16-ounce gloves.
And even then, like we didn't have headgear.
No.
Where did they come from?
What are you talking about? The gloves?
The glove fairy?
What, people had what?
No, like
Everybody boxed back in the day.
no, the drug dealers didn't want us to sell drugs. They wanted us to do something constructive.
Mm-hmm.
So they bought like boxing gloves and they bought basketball courts
Right.
and stuff like that.
Like, don't get it twisted. There was always Robin Hoods.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Anytime you see a brand new basketball court on a random corner and nobody's touched it, trust and believe me, somebody with some clout bought it.
You better believe it.
And you bet not touch it.
Not, please don't.
Yeah.
Not if you value you and your family's life.
That's a shame, but so
That's
true.
scary.
That's that hood's life.
Yeah.
We got a heck of a show for you. We want to get through some of these hot topics because y'all need to know what's
Hot
popping.
topic.
I think I'll do that for hot topics.
Like hot pockets.
And now I'm hungry.
Yeah.
That chili you made was awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yes, Sassy cooks sometimes.
That's
And
crazy.
when I do, I usually put a lot of effort into it. I might not.
There was
do it
love in that
all the time,
chili.
but yeah, it was. I actually was making it on behalf of a coworker at my job. I wasn't even
I'm
gonna
a
make it
coworker.
yesterday, but she heard that I said I was thinking about making it, and she was like, "What chili? You making your chili?" And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even know you were
So,
that much of a
Let's pause for
fan."
a second. You knew you was coming here tonight, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And you usually know it's 2 other people, at least 3 minimum here with you, right?
And 2 of the 3 are big guys.
So let me tell you this.
No,
that
no,
was
no,
a
no. Don't make
struggle
no
pie for
excuses.
Cause Don like
Sassy because
medium
I'm gonna
size.
be
Don ain't in the big realm. yet.
that's for
But
Sassy.
me and Shannon well over 6'1".
This is Sassy
And
dinner
she
and
on a-
her lunch every day for the rest of the week. Like,
Listen,
that's
you don't bring raw meat around lions.
struggle chili for me, so I don't die.
So now you're gonna receive a bunch of emails and messages asking you for the recipe for struggle chili.
Yo.
And I
Yeah,
know you can cook
I can do
because your
that.
mama can cook. Okay.
Well, look, we're going to put Sassy Struggle Chili for those that may not be in the best financial situation, hungry, and don't have a lot of resources, like Sassy. And
And you know it was good because it wasn't no rice and nothing else in it.
yo, Chad,
It was just straight up chili.
there was times where I knew it was her struggle chili, and I still ate more of it because I just didn't care. Like, that's how good it was.
I never had struggle chili.
Oh, yeah, you
I'm
didn't get a chance.
offended. I come in here as a guest co-host with you.
You didn't even feed
You
the
didn't
guests?
bring any chili.
Oh Jesus!
She didn't
I'll
bring a
bring
biscuit,
some
a
the
piece
next
of
time.
cornbread, or nothing.
Well, there were no biscuits or cornbread
She said, "What, no
anyway.
biscuits?"
I'm just saying.
Sassy
You can
don't
struggle
like
up a
those.
biscuit.
Struggle up a biscuit. I need somebody to struggle up out of those pockets so I won't have to struggle.
Oh,
Oh.
man. All right, so let's get into the baby. Let's get these sponsors popping. Let's get this show lucrative. Listen, Disenchanted will be back.
Did she
in
just say
September.
she want a sugar daddy?
Yeah, basically. I tried,
Oh, okay.
I tried
All
to
right.
gloss over it.
I'm new to the show. I just was, making
Yeah,
sure.
Sassy is not above a
Now
Patreon account.
taking applications now.
Wow.
And where do they put those applications in?
In my inbox.
You heard it.
We talking about Facebook? Or, oh, okay.
So wait, before they flood your inbox and DMs, let them know what the criteria is to slide in there to apply for
Yeah, because
sugar.
you can't just
There
have
has to be
everybody
some
sliding.
prerequisites, right?
Like if he's 65 and got one good eye,
That's fine. We
No,
can
that
go on
works. If the
dates or
pocket's
whatever.
hard,
Yeah,
if the money
as long as
hard.
your pockets is
You do
right.
realize you living in the
Weekly
age-
allowance of 500 minimum.
a week. Whoa,
Whoa.
500 weekly. What you doing?
Yeah,
What you doing?
people
for
will
500?
pay.
Oh, she said that with confidence.
No, she
People
said
will
like
pay.
she
Because
knows.
I done
Yeah.
seen some people who've been charging some ridiculous prices to people for just like hand holding and stuff for just a day.
Okay, so how much is a handhold?
That news story, the lady started a cuddling business.
Don't get me started on that.
It was like $85 an hour or something
And
like
people
that.
are paying it. So what I'm asking for $500 a week
So
is
what you
very
can
minimal.
do? So what you can do? We're gonna take it to 1,000, Sassy, right? And what you do is cosplay that shit.
Exactly.
Go Raven
I
on
already
their
planned
asses.
on doing that.
You see what I'm
but-
saying?
If you want
So you can
Storm,
charge 1,000 a
as
week.
a matter of fact, Head Nursing Charges is now providing a new service that if you want a super
No sexual favors involved.
Oh yeah, well no,
See, Tiffany said 500 is too low. You worth more than that,
yeah.
Sassy.
You got to put that in the disclaimer. You know how the guy talks fast at the bottom.
But see, here it is. And I'm gonna be your pimp for a second, okay?
Wow, wow. He didn't say manager. He didn't say caseworker. He was like, I will be your pimp.
We're
Yeah,
going to be.
Raven will cuddle for $1,000 a week, nothing more.
Yeah.
That only includes 5 minutes of hand holding, 10 minutes of laying on Raven's shoulder, and she will say Azarath, Metreon, Xanthos for a huge tip.
That sounds perfect. I like that marketing idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
So any takers, please drop in my inbox.
And best believe, if you cross that line, I'm 6'4".
I'm about to say, she got enough. Trust me.
She got security.
Sassy probably about the most protected person in West Philly right about now. I can tell you that right.
Yeah, that's between you guys, my dad.
I'm about to say, just the heat that we resonate off of you, you shouldn't even be cold. Even the cold can't touch you, girl.
I told you I was sweating.
That's the wig. Don't blame us. Anyway, listen, if you want to hit up Sassy in her DMs, by all means, contact one Big Exclusive. He'll be able to broker you a deal.
That's at Big Exclusive on everything.
And if you want somebody else to cuddle with, ladies, I happen to be plus size, and my breath don't stink on Tuesdays.
Only on Tuesday.
Well, that's when I do my best work.
Hey, listen,
You got
I will be your business manager as well.
Hey, look, see, Shannon, if he could broker
A
an
deal?
overweight, overage funk mouth, I'm telling you, he'll make you up for
He
anything.
said I got 500 food stamps. Bruh, we take it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But your services get cut in half. Your amenities get cut in half. That's all.
So she can only hold one hand.
Yeah, because
No. She can hold his hands for 2.5 minutes.
Instead of 5.
He get delayed for 5 minutes on her shoulder, and he can't get no Raven, Azarath, Metreon, Zen.
She got to come as like Squirtle or Bulbasaur.
where did you get that from?
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Oh God.
So Disenchanted is coming out. It'll be back in September. Big news. Now, the internet was all a frenzy about Robert Pattinson, popular from Twilight, being casted as Batman. And the internet went completely ape. I mean, the memes, the jokes, the anger, the outrage over this casting. Well, they got so angry that the studio responded, bruh, we have no clue what you're talking about. We haven't casted anyone.
Now,
What?
when it comes to stuff like this, I always defer to you. Raw initial thoughts. Don't sugarcoat it, but what was your initial
No.
thoughts?
My initial thoughts is whatever casting there is, my first thought is, does he embody or look like the character? Like, when I first saw Heath Ledger, I was one of those guys. I was that fanboy that was like, this is stupid. Why do we have the guy from Brokeback Mountain and from Knight's Tale playing one of the most iconic villains of all time? I ranted for months. And then when I saw it,
oh my God,
I had to shut my mouth. And I learned very good life lessons to let the people who get paid 6 figures do what they do.
Everybody was mad about that. Everybody was mad about that bull.
Because I mean, the dedication that Heath Ledger... See, Heath Ledger set a new precedence with arguing about castings. Even with Ben Affleck.
That, the performance was so intense.
That's what I mean. He showed up and showed out. To the point where they said that he was in a pretty dark place even after that.
Right. They said he went through a depression.
Yeah, that contributed to his death.
I don't think they didn't show the Joker.
My other question is, as far as him being casted, was it an issue because nobody thought he embodied the character?
It's because he came from Twilight, bro.
Yeah, it's definitely
Twilight.
because he came from
Robert
Twilight.
Pattinson.
So why were they putting him in sparkly bat costume?
Because apparently in Twilight they spark. I've never seen an episode of Twilight. Sassy, have you seen Twilight?
So apparently, when they go out in the sunlight because they're vampires, they have this little sparkle whole thing going on where they look like shiny from the sun rays or something, and it looks glittery. And I hated that movie, to be honest. But
because I didn't even
it
go see
was so girly and like.
Jen, did you see any Twilight?
I've never seen the Twilight.
So, Sassy, you're our resident expert on Twilight.
And unfortunately, I got dragged to the movies for the second one by my friend. My best friend, she wanted to go see it, and she didn't have anybody to go see it with. And of course, me being a good best friend, I wasn't going to leave her alone. But I was in there with my arms folded, like, oh my God, I'm here right
so
here.
Was Robert okay? So then you saw Robert Pattinson through the Twilight phase. Do you think because remember, Batman is the pretty boy philanthropist, millionaire, because just as much as there's a Batman, there's a Bruce Wayne. And you have to embody both.
Which begs the question, and before I get to it, Tiffany made a good point. She logged into the Facebook watching the live. She said, but social media mob wasn't what it was today when Heath Ledger got cast. Do you think they would have tossed Heath Ledger or took the role away if we had the same social media pressure that we had today? You think they would have recast it?
Nah. You know what?
It was just as bad.
Well, Don in the booth says it was just as bad.
They didn't show the Joker until like a week before the movie. Well, they didn't show the Joker until the week before the movie. Remember, you didn't get to see the Joker until it was like almost released. When they finally showed the picture, people were like, "Oh, his face is cut."
I put it like this. See, at that time, I get what Tef is saying, because at that time the popular vehicles for social media was Facebook, MySpace, or Twitter, Facebook. Now, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. They complaining on LinkedIn. So there's more platforms for people to complain on.
Okay.
Instead of one concentrated, like, because if you wasn't on Facebook, then you didn't have to worry about it. You didn't see it.
Right.
Yeah.
But now they complain everywhere, and within an instant, that fanboyism, man, that thing is like a virus. Because all it takes is one good meme, and it's shared everywhere.
What's stronger, the fanboy or the beehive?
Oh, fanboy, hands down. Beehive ain't got nothing on those skis. We've been doing it for too long. Stop it. The Beehive, y'all new to this. Y'all knew the outrage of protecting your favorite characters and heroes.
Bitch about movies before they even come out, bro.
I put it like this. I've seen the fervor of a Beehive. Like, they will buy Beyonce tickets as soon as they drop. But you ain't seen nothing trying to buy New York Comic-Con tickets. Listen,
I'm a huge fan of the Big Bang Theory, right?
Yeah.
And that episode when Comic-Con was coming and all 5 of them were like on their computers trying to get tickets.
Yeah.
Refresh.
That is a...
They couldn't get tickets.
My first experience was trying to get like San Diego Comic-Con tickets.
Okay.
Now, mind you, my cousin Mark, y'all know him, friend of the show.
Mm-hmm.
He says to me, "You're never going to get them," and I'm like, "Why?" It's not that deep because I'm not knowledgeable. I'm not hip to the con scene yet.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "It's literally the #1 comic book convention ever." And I'm like, "Well, it can't be that deep. I mean, nerds don't have money."
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking,
yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
They come up.
I don't know what y'all doing, whose computers y'all are fixing. Like, y'all will hustle up for some Comic-Con tickets.
For the whole year. They be like, I know this is coming up this year, so I'm going to be hustling for the rest of the year.
Not a bar of soap or a container of deodorant in the whole crib.
Either. That's the next part.
They shut down cities. See, Beyonce may shut down a stadium.
Oh, yeah.
But when the geek, like, you gotta come with us. We're gonna plan a trip to Dragon Con, which is a comic book convention in 4 hotels in downtown Atlanta.
Yep. Oh, that sounds interesting.
You not hip to Dragon Con?
No.
It's like geek Mardi Gras. It's
usually all of the cons that I'm at are like on the borders of like they're Philadelphia's cousin states like Washington.
Oh, so you're east, you're northeastern.
Yeah, like I've never been actually like on a distance to where you could get on a plane and travel to actually go to the con. That's hasn't happened.
We like to do that.
You would like it. Dragon Con is ridiculous.
Listen, we're gonna have to.
It looked like it.
We're gonna set it up. Matter of fact, we'll set up an HNIC Comic-Con trip. Now, I don't know if Dragon Con. Dragon Con's hard to get into too, but we're gonna set it up. We're gonna set it up and make a thing of it. But Robert Pattinson as Batman isn't true, y'all. Y'all can calm down, put your pitchforks down, put your pens and pencils.
I didn't even care. I was like,
see that makes me wonder. Like, you know, again, I'm new to this whole culture, but who would you guys like to see as Batman?
Yeah. What's your better ideas?
And I'd like to hear people's opinion as well on who they think would be a great Batman.
Well, you know what? That is an age-old question. I've always been a fan of leading men with strong jawlines because underneath that cowl, you got to be able to take bullets. So you need that strong jaw. That jawline got to be able to bounce bullets off.
That scares me when they had that mask on and they had that weird shaped hard chin. And it's
because I wasn't a big Christian Bale fan.
Oh, I hate it.
I'm a huge Christian Bale.
Really?
Huge.
So annoying.
Nope. I loved all of that, bro. I loved all of that.
Why'd you do that?
I did. Did I just mess up my whole?
No. Everybody, you're good. Because
I just thought
he's one of the more popular ones.
Is such a great actor that no one actor can supersede what Batman means.
He was a good Bruce Wayne,
but he was an awesome Bruce Wayne.
He was awesome Bruce Wayne.
That
He was awesome Bruce Wayne.
For
weird Batman.
He was an awesome.
He was awesome Bruce Wayne.
Now I agree the same with George Clooney. I thought he made a good Bruce Wayne. I thought a horrendous horrendous Batman.
He was, yeah.
Michael Keaton's still a goat though.
I would agree with that. If I had to, you know what I mean, he would be one for me, Michael Keaton.
Now, if you've seen pictures of Robert Pattinson as Batman, I'm not angry at it. I actually think Sebastian, I think what his name is, he plays the Winter Soldier. I think he would make a good Batman.
Yeah, Sebastian Sam.
Sebastian, I forget what his last name is.
How do I feel about it?
Could we get a black Batman?
No.
Would that ever be possible?
You said no. No. Why not?
No, never.
Why?
Because I said so.
Why not?
Don't ruin my I'm one of those guys who was not a fan of Michael B. Jordan being Human Torch. I'm not now, mind you, there is a black Superman, so I was okay with that. Them having those talks.
Does having a black Batman shatter the whole?
Well, there is a black. There's a black man in the Bat family.
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm sure one exists in some parallel universe.
No. I mean, in the Bat family.
Like, could we build a movie based around the black?
That'd be cool.
No, you can't do that until you address his son, Damien. There's too many in the line of the war.
You can have a one-off, right?
You mean like a what if?
No, not a what if, just like a one-off. Like you take one of the, that's, for me, it's such an obscure idea that I think it would work for DC. Just like Marvel does when they bring obscure characters to the limelight. I think that may help DC when it comes to versus Marvel. If they can get...
Hold on, my man Andrew Stiller on the John says, Adam West was the real Batman. He was the campy Batman. He was the funny Batman.
Good Batman, bad Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. I mean, that was a little bit before my time with the pals and the kaplaks and the skadoosh.
I was not. But I think if DC allowed somebody like Ryan Coogler to take a shot at a black Batman.
Why? Because he did Black Panther so well?
Fucking right. Hell yeah.
Marvel keep Marvel got like this.
I put it like this: they can't take no more losses.
Or imagine. Yeah. Think about this: Spike Lee Batman.
You know what, Tev? Tev is on fire today. Mm-hmm. Tev says we should have a black Terry McGinnis, a black Batman Beyond, and have him team up with Static. Now, here's the only thing about having a black Terry McGinnis. Terry McGinnis is actually Batman's clone.
Yes.
So,
what?
Yeah, Terry McGinnis is a direct clone from Batman.
I was gonna say, I just got hungry as hell.
So if unless we're gonna admit that Bruce Wayne has always had a little Nubian in his background, he might have some explaining to do why.
We can't say a black woman brought him here. Black woman brought him here.
I'm gonna tell you,
Amanda Waller. Yeah, they all did.
Amanda
Waller put a little something in the gene pool that turned him black.
You can take a black woman for Batman Beyond.
Yeah, facts.
Facts.
I made that mistake at Comic-Con.
What?
I thought somebody was like the adult version of Static Shock, and I almost got decapitated. It was during like Beat the Blur, in between picking a new person, and the guy, he was in cosplay, Black Lightning.
Oh, okay.
I said, was Black Lightning Static Shock all grown up?
No. That's awesome.
Like,
I love that you know that.
Almost decapitated me with his look.
Yeah.
I was like,
you really can't make those kind of. You really can. I mean, it's not that deep. Nobody should feel some type of way. Yeah, but I can see the parallel. I can see why somebody would.
I can understand how. Static Shock, Black Lightning.
Right.
People do that with Red Hood, and they think that he's a slave. Sometimes. Actually, not even sometimes a lot. That happens a lot.
Now, Slade is from Teen Titans, right?
Look at you. Look at you.
Shout out to Kayla. She a huge Teen Titans Go fan.
Look at you know who Deathstroke is.
I said it. I said Teen Titans Go was teaching people stuff because that's what he just said.
Here we go.
Teen Titans Go, he do that because of that.
At this point, you see a little box reference episode ... for Sassy's rant on Teen Titans Go.
I'll have to find it.
I'm gonna do that one day. Y'all not going to trash talk my show. I love that show.
And she loves her some Teen Titans stuff.
Now, I like
all
Teen
you.
Titans Go. Like, I've been forced to watch it for like with my daughter, but I actually found myself liking it. And then, what was it? DC's app. What is that? With the live action.
Oh, the
yeah.
DC Online?
No, it could be, but it was an app.
The one for their
But
it's the one
streaming
they're using
service.
now.
Yeah, the streaming service.
Yeah,
right.
DC Online.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and now they had a live action like Teen Titans.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Titans. Yeah,
Yeah,
Titans.
I heard that was good.
It was fucking awesome, bro.
I gotta see.
It was really
There's too many
good.
streaming services out right now,
was really
and I am not at the financial point where I can watch everything I want to.
Where you gonna put your $10?
Starfire is black, and she is on every which way possible. This shit. She's beautiful, fierce.
Oh, you ain't got to trust. That was the first person Sassy K when she first came to the show. That's who she cosplayed as.
Like
Yeah.
Starfire and Titans.
I
is
saw that.
Like the truth.
It was on this.
Listen, all I'm saying is, if you got the funds to watch Teen Titans, I mean, not Teen Titans.
Titans.
No, screw Teen Titans. I ain't. If you watch Titans on DC, definitely go check it out. As a matter of fact,
But I don't pay for that stuff.
okay, we need to talk about the show.
You want to know how to get all streaming service on one device.
Call Sassy's new pimp, big exclusive, on everything.
Right,
Free
and
from
big
cable.
exclusive on everything. Hit my inbox, DM. I got the hookup.
Are y'all excited for X-Men Dark Phoenix? Because right now, they're saying it may have the all-time worst X-Men box office opening.
Now, is that because of the timing? With
It's because X-Men sucks.
Pikachu, John Wick, and Endgame.
Listen.
all-
It was bad.
Apocalypse
yeah.
was horrendous. I mean, their last few movies have just been straight doo-doo.
Oh, geez, I didn't see the last one.
See,
It was that bad.
And that's what I mean.
Nobody talked to me about going to see it, so I didn't go.
Did you miss any of
Nobody
the
ever
Marvel movies, like the Avengers and then?
No.
No,
I know,
because
I
all
didn't.
my friends always made sure to update me on it.
And they'll bring you, but nobody's
Nah, I
bringing
want
somebody to an X-Men movie now. And since Days of Future Past could have been a salvageable movie, and it wasn't.
I like that.
All right, so Shannon's going to leave the show, and we appreciate him coming on. And
I
it's
thought
nice
the
having
worst
him.
thing you could say is that you enjoyed the Green Lantern movie.
Yeah, I saw the early street.
What, Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah.
No, that was the worst.
That would get you
That
booted
was
even
the
faster.
like,
X-Men 3
This
will
is
get you
my
booted
right.
fast. Green Lantern will get you booted fast. Daredevil with Ben Affleck will get you booted fast. If we start talking about the worst of the worst, well, Dark Phoenix may end up in that same toilet bowl scenario because they have some leaked footage on YouTube. And I don't know, the scene was kind of boss. It was between Xavier and Magneto, and they're discussing whether or not they should go in the crib and kill Jean Grey. And it's intense. But y'all not fooling me. Y'all ain't gonna show the best clips and then have the rest of it garbage like it usually is.
So, like, where is this coming from? Where is it derived? Is it, like you said, the fanboy? Or
Well, good critics, geeks, nerds, blurs, all of it, and basically all of media.
I've been done with critics for so long now.
Well, see, the thing is, here's the problem. Disney now has secured the rights to the X-Men. So nobody wants to see an offshoot X-Men. They want MCU X-Men.
X-Men, right.
We want to see the X-Men like we've always anticipated they could and should be. As a matter of fact, if you're familiar with the lead actor in Sons of Anarchy, Charlie Hunnam, he is now being looked at to be casted as Wolverine in the MCU.
I think that's a great call.
I'm on the
think
fence.
that is-
Well, he's got the attitude. I don't
Maybe
know
good
if
as
he's
his
got
son, because it's like his son has blonde hair, just like
that.
Yeah,
I thought he was.
No, there's another one. There's Dakin, and then there's the one he comes like Sabretooth. He has like thick sideburns. He's blonde, and he doesn't want nothing to do with like being a superhero. He has a healing factor, and he has like two claws, just like X-23.
Okay.
Howling.
Well, either way,
Howling.
either way, if you're familiar with Sons of Anarchy, you know the face.
One of my
And-
favorite shows of all time.
All time.
Yeah.
All time. With that, yeah. Especially better ending than Game of Thrones, I can tell you that.
Oh.
Yeah, we're not gonna get we're
How about Sassy might have been right all this time?
Yo, Game of Booty.
Game. That man, you don't know how that lit me up to be able to go comment that on everybody's stuff because
It'll never not
everybody
be
was
funny.
talking trash
It'll never
about
not
it.
be funny.
You were happy for our downfall.
Yeah, I
10
was.
years we invested into that.
Oh, that sounds like a personal problem. I called it already, and y'all should have listened to me.
You know, I would have been okay never seeing that finale. But I don't want to change subjects. I know we're talking about Charlie
I like
Brown,
No, but yeah, basically, Dark Phoenix.
Wolverine.
I saw it. I saw the early viewing of it like a couple of days ago.
Wait, you seen Dark Phoenix?
Yeah, early viewing, bro.
Was it worth seeing?
They did it again. They just took a bunch of comic books, threw it in a blender, and tried to make it work. And you can't make it work because if you don't have rights to certain characters, you can't do certain blocks of X-Men history.
Right.
You can't do Dark Phoenix Saga with Magneto or X because they had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, the Dark Phoenix saga had everything to do with the
It was-
Shi'ar, Landra, and
Yeah, all that cosmic stuff.
Crystal.
If they would have been in the MCU, that would have been lit because then they would have. Then they'll be able to just to actually do that.
So throw the
This
whole
thing
movie
was-
away. Is what you're basically saying.
Storm was all right.
Dad, the whole movie?
Storm was
The
cool.
So
whole
this,
movie
this,
just
this is what I like.
trash.
Would you A, pay full price, B, see the matinee, or 3, wait for it to come on HBO or the Fire Stick?
If you're curious and you got the money to spare, matinee.
Matinee.
Just because
Instead of you curious.
If you ain't got
Because some people,
$4,
yeah,
I would.
because some people are curious, but they don't want to spend that $15. So
I would go see it because I'm a nerd. I have to. Well,
That's why I did it.
I got to
Exactly.
be able to tell you how much it sucks.
Matinee though.
See, I know like a film critic person, VAR. He has a show, and he does. I don't know. He's my go-to about movies and because like I said, I've been done with like regular critics for so long, but VAR seems to be able to detach himself from any preconceived notions when it comes to prior films or sequels, prequels, and anthologies. So I go to him when I want to know if a movie worth seeing, and he always tell me straight up.
I mean, if you want that, I mean, it was just bad from start to finish. Bad screenwriting,
From
bad transition of scenes. It was just
start.
bad all the way. Bad use of the actual characters. It
See,
was bad.
Wow.
And you got to understand, as far as properties go, even though Spider-Man is the most popular MCU character, X-Men, just X-Men as an entity, is one of the most beloved factions in all of. I mean,
right.
you have the Avengers and you have JLA, but those are comprised of all the best of the best of the universes. The X-Men is one of the most popular standalone factions. Period.
Absolutely.
So people are purely invested into this.
Right.
So you can't mess up these things. Like, y'all keep dropping the ball on X-Men movies. That's why we were so happy when they went to the MCU, because finally, first of all, get the Fantastic Four out your hands. Please get the Fantastic Four out your hands, because they the first family. Y'all tagging 12 white people up. Poor white folks don't know what to do. And then you got the X-Men, who, I mean, they revolutionized comic books and they made relatable connections. There was discrimination. It was their closest thing to black people in comic books.
Oh, jeez, you taking this.
I'm sorry, no, because I feel some type of way. They were discriminated on. They tried to eradicate them. They took their housing. We had to go get in the hovels. We had to go to a segregated school.
Me listening.
2 words. I'll give you 2 words.
Government task force put together for them.
Yo, a whole government task force. They've been doing testing on the mutants. And this is all just Tuskegee Airmen. Look, all I'm saying is, mutants, the X-Men are black people. Before there was a Wakanda, there was an X-Man. Do right by the X-Men.
Get back to Marvel.
Dark Phoenix doesn't do that.
Get
And
back to Marvel, bro. Get back to Marvel. Look what they did with Juggernaut. That's the best Juggernaut I've ever seen in my life. In Deadpool 2, that was the best Juggernaut. That was the most awesome Juggernaut. And Cable. They did Cable like, oh, here you go, guys. Done. Cable. Beautiful.
yeah,
Get back to Marvel, please.
Deadpool 2 did a good job.
Get back to Marvel, please.
I don't know. Even if they weren't good, I'd still probably like it because, like, Ryan Reynolds, he made the movie. He made the Pokemon movie.
Really good.
Detective Pikachu. If he wasn't in it,
It
I
was
would
basically
have
a
been
fuzzy
interested.
Deadpool.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, a PG-13 fuzzy Deadpool.
Listen, the Russo brothers have come out and said that they have no clue where Gamora went after Avengers Endgame. So I'm assuming
Just flat out said, don't know.
no, they were like, look, she out. She's somewhere lost in the sauce. And I guess that's a precursor to what is going to be explored in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which will definitely feature Thor and Beta Ray Bill.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she wasn't there at the end.
Nah, she was out. She was like, I got to date this guy. I'm out here.
Oh,
This
man,
weirdo.
I'm sad that they should
You gotta start over.
burn her all over.
Yo, can you imagine bagging a bad chick and then having her memory wiped and a doppelganger come in and be like, this nut? Nah. Yo.
That's me.
Yo, that's
That's
it.
me.
So I guess we're going to find out in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 exactly how they track down Gamora. A little bit of real science, a different break from our normal geek and comic book news. Koalas are about to be extinct.
Oh, what?
Why?
Wow.
Yo, koalas are about to be officially extinct.
What?
Who's
What's
eating
making them go extinct?
Well, did you know koalas get what is it? Herpes?
Well, yeah, they are. I think they are have it.
Hold on.
They just like naturally
Now look
born
out
with it
there.
or something.
Look out there.
And it's not because of that. It's just something genetic or something.
Hold
with
on.
them.
Let me.
And koalas are.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I take it back. It's not herpes. In people, chlamydia is a common sexually transmitted disease. A different strain affects koalas.
Okay.
But it too can spread sexually. So koalas is out here needing to rubber up.
Well,
They
is
can't give them a
that
shot.
what's killing them?
No, I'm not saying that them not rubbering up is what's killing
Or
them.
is global warming killing them?
Global warming don't give you chlamydia. If so, I would
Well,
think
I
about it.
mean, besides that, that's always been. Oh my God, that's always been present though. It's not like that just started
Chlamydia
yesterday.
or global
So
warming?
for the
Little bit
koalas,
both.
so what's the difference now as to what's making them go extinct? Is what I'm saying.
They smash them more.
Now, is it?
Is that really what it is, or is that just your dumb trash bag logic as to why?
The latter.
Well, I'm curious as to what's making them go extinct and what are they doing about it. But I heard something similar with bees.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you understand how devastating to this planet that if bees go
Yeah,
extinct.
bees go extinct. There's nothing to pollinate the way that bees do. They got. Did you ever see that Black Mirror episode where they developed the
I've
electronic
never
bees?
seen one episode
Yeah.
of Black Mirror.
All right, so once again, we've fired
I
Shannon.
don't even know
You
what that
can't
is.
fire
About the chain, man. It's
Listen,
Where
amazing.
do I watch it?
If I hold on. I need complete silence just for one
Oh my
quick.
God.
If I don't do anything, as your friend, please take the time, go to whatever Netflix account you need to, and binge watch Black Mirror. And that's all I'm gonna say.
Text me your password.
I got no, say less. I got
I'm
you.
joking.
Don't
I get everything.
Don't laugh. I'm
I
about
get
to say
everything.
don't laugh at my profile. I got like Baby Huey and Super Fuzzy Bottom. Anywho,
Okay,
yeah.
I'll make it a point.
That's why I don't get my
face
password
right
out
now
So
there.
when I do, you just gotta invite me back to talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Oh yeah, Black Mirror is official.
Andre Grant in the Facebook says he is listening to us, but he's also watching that All in the Family Jefferson's live show. It's pretty good, and he's enjoying it. Check it
Oh
out.
yeah, I wanted to throw that in there. Did you know that
Live in front of a
they
studio.
want to do a live
I
show?
saw the
I wanna see it.
commercials for that, and I most certainly wanted to see it. So, but I figured as long as it's available tomorrow, I can watch it.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. I think the warden about to throw it on there real quick so we can kind of get a
You know
glimpse
what was
of it.
on before he changed the channel?
Oh no, I didn't know.
Full Metal Jacket.
What?
This is my rifle.
That's one of my favorite movies too. But that's a whole
Yeah,
nother.
that looked interesting too.
It's
I was
amazing.
like,
Well, no, Woody Harrelson is playing Archie Bunker,
That's what I thought.
and Jamie Foxx is playing George Jefferson.
oh.
Wanda Sykes is playing Wheezy.
Mm.
Kerry Washington, is it?
That's
And Kerry Washington's in it. I forget who. And they're doing it all live. We got it up on the box right now. We're watching it with y'all. So I don't know how distracted we're about to be. But
Oh,
either
wait,
way,
that looks good.
yeah.
Oh man.
Is Wanda
Wanda
Sykes?
gotta be
Something
Florence.
y'all
Wanda gotta be Florence.
Yo, what you
Wanda's
say?
gotta be Florence.
I'm mad. Look, Andre, look what you done did. You about to have
Jackie
Sassy. You about to have Sassy dip out the whole show just to go
I'll
watch.
talk to y'all later.
Wait a minute, hold on. First off,
Huh?
do you even remember the original All in the Family or
Yeah,
Jefferson?
my mom looked at it all the time. So I looked at it because me and her spent a lot of television time on the couch together.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's all black families. We all love the Jeffersons.
Yeah.
Taco Bell is opening a hotel and resort, and
What?
Ric Flair will make a speedy recovery. So says his wife after having some medical issues. So, if you listen, I'm not telling you to turn us off, but ABC got the Jeffersons live, and they got my man Jack. Oh, is that Jack Kay? Oh, wow. Anyway, nostalgia, y'all.
To beat the
Now,
man, you gotta beat the man. To beat the man, you got to walk that aisle, baby.
I love any moment to
Ric
woo,
Flair
like
drip.
Ric Flair. Sassy, you saw John Wick.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Oh my God. So they just got straight to the point. They was like, we know why you came
Straight
here to
to the
come
point.
see John Wick. You came here so you could see him whip some booty. So that's exactly what he started off doing. Like right in the beginning, the chair was already ready to start rocking around and moving. He on the move. We wondering what's going on. They trying to come for him. Oh my God, that knife fight in the beginning was the best. Overall, that was my favorite fight out of the whole movie, was the part with the knives. It was just like bam, bam, bam. His aim is so spot on. And the chair helped because even in the motorcycle chases, the chair was like vibrating and it was like,
That's that 4D
like it was like a
interactive.
motorcycle, and I was just like, yeah, I'm right.
So I'm actually going to check out that 4D theater for Godzilla because somebody else told me.
Yes, go do that there. That would be great. And it'd probably be a little bit better because
wanna go?
it's like an outside
You gonna roll with
atmosphere.
me?
Yeah, I would. I don't care about Godzilla, but if it's going to be in that theater, I'll go.
Shane, you rolling?
With the 4D, do you still put on 3D glasses?
No, you
Okay,
just regular. The only thing that would make it better is if they implemented VR headsets into that, because then you would be completely submerged into that setting and feeling like you're there. Because that was the only thing.
Talking about
That,
seizure or something. People gonna freak out.
yeah, I want to freak out though. I want to have
See,
the whole
that's not-
experience
that's
if I'm
not-
ahead.
I'm not enjoying
So
freaking
you're not
out. No.
feeling it.
No.
And
The way my nerves set up.
You know, he said that chair get the rumbling.
Oh my God.
If y'all could see I'm so mad. If y'all could see Jamie Foxx with George
I
Jefferson,
told you I need
yeah,
to talk to them later. So
no, we got a show. We got to stay dedicated and focused on the task at hand.
Jack A is Florence.
Go check out
Looks like.
John Wick. Go check out John Wick when you have an
But I'm
opportunity.
definitely down to go to the 4D situation.
Yeah, because I think that'll be a great experience. Just because I've never been to a 4D theater
definitely gonna
and
watch
had the
it.
opportunity, because they say they spray the water in your face,
Yeah,
the wind
well,
blow
I
by
mean,
you,
the
and
water
somebody
part-
fart, you can smell it.
I
all
hope they
that.
do better with the water in this one, because they only gave me like 3 little lonely raindrops
Oh,
on my forehead.
to
And
splash in
I
your
was
face?
like, they had a water on and off button like it was going to be a
I'm just saying,
shower.
you want to sprinkle right in your face?
No, I wanted a shower.
A shower right on top of you? Do you look up when they do it?
Sassy, as your management, I advise you not to answer this question. Please.
I'm asking, how do you like your 4D?
Thank you.
I just wanted to know
Did
how you
not
like your
hear what
4D
my manager
experience.
said?
I want to know your 4D
This is
experience.
how you address him. I plead the fifth.
Yeah. I plead the fifth.
While they plead the fifth, I just wanted to have an inquiry on how Sassy wanted to experience her 4D.
Oh my God. And then you say,
So I'm going to allow Sassy this time to enjoy the Jeffersons as I do a quick recap of our Game of Thrones special that we had this past Sunday. Let me tell you something, folks. Game of Booty. I'm sorry, but 10 years have been wasted.
No.
why was
Character development thrown out of the window.
No.
Daenerys Targaryen was killed by the man who professed to love her. He done did everything right, and he got with the baddest chick in Westeros
It was okay.
and shanked her, and not in a good way. My man Drago rolled up on him, said, "Did you kill my mama?" and burned a chair. That surmises The first
But
15 minutes.
That was so
15 minutes.
him melting down that chair. I think it was a must because I thought the symbolism in that and what it represented for the whole series was.
Shannon, you think
everybody
everybody understands
that.
symbolism?
No, I think, but we as people should understand.
I get it.
symbolism. But I understand why you feel that the way that you feel. The episode was highly disappointing. And now the actual writers got so pissy because people hated it. They invite people to write their own versions of a finale.
Really?
Yeah,
Yes.
they like, you think you know something, and you
They
know
like, you
exactly.
think you know, so do it better.
Oh,
Now, my question is, are they going to fucking reshoot it?
challenge accepted. Because I can definitely write a better
They're
ending
not
than
gonna
that.
shoot that, man.
Now, here's what
They'll never reshoot it,
annoyed
but
the shit out of me. Tyrion being able to walk to the rubble and see his brother and sister dead.
which
I was.
there's a picture of that, and I think
annoyed.
I got it.
Because when it happened, it was like that column was what 50 foot wide.
don't get me started on that. There were so many plot holes, and that one being one of the
The way
biggest ones.
Daenerys died, like you said, being stabbed by Jon in that way,
It was
whack. The way they chose the king and the way they laughed at democracy was symbolism, which annoyed the shit out of me as well. But Bran ending up on being king.
and he just said, "I can't become lord of anything."
But then gonna say, "This is why I traveled all this way."
Yeah. So basically,
Bran, please.
Bran is
That's
the
the
number
I
one
literally
finesser.
put out there. Get the fuck out of here. That really, I wanted to cut it off after that.
Bran finessed his way on the throne.
Yeah.
No, legitimately. Bran knew who was going to die. Bran knew how this thing was going to play out. Bran knew that his brother was going to end up at the wall and that he would be seated as the king.
Well, Bran knew his brother wasn't even his brother. His brother wasn't even his brother.
And then that begs the question, was Bran finessing when he told them the truth about his... First of all, y'all did all this foreshadowing about him being a Targaryen, and it meant absolutely nothing in the end.
Wait, what did you say? I think you said it in one of your predictions, right? First of all, Sansa, she won best fucking annoying character. She beat out, what's my man name on Power? Tyreek. She beat Tyreek.
I don't watch Power.
She a close second.
Nigga.
I know.
Tyreek is the worst.
What?
I see. That's how we feel about the geek stuff.
Okay, we can talk about that.
We talk about that.
But Sansa annoyed me. But I think you had surmised that it would be a battle between them two. She would decide to execute Jon and tell Drago to burn him, and then he wouldn't burn because he's a Targaryen.
Right.
So my thing was, to me, that was fucking brilliant. Why couldn't they have something like that? Because we knew Daenerys couldn't stay on the throne. Why wasn't it like hell yeah? Why wasn't it a battle?
The word always comes down with the best
Not all
villains.
Targaryens can burn. Like, not all Targaryens are fireproof, though.
I don't know something.
No, all Targaryens
But
are
that's
Yeah, but
but
it
that's why the
doesn't
power.
matter.
That's why the vehicle.
Exactly. Like I think that's what would have made it even better. I think ultimately, like you had hit on another point when you was making your prediction.
Sassy says she don't want these
With your
Oreos.
plate.
I don't understand. Sassy trying to
Man, give me the plate.
Sassy could care less about Game of Booty so much.
Yeah,
She's straight.
Now, let's just say what the producer and engineer just did. This nigga come down here with a plate of some curry, goat or chicken,
Yeah, first of all,
and rice and broccoli.
he got the studio. He got the studio smelling good.
He's been working all day, Johnny.
Somebody mama, Jamaica mama was up there with their foot in the joint.
Yeah,
he come
he got-
down with the plate, lit the whole studio up,
He got Jamaica D's.
and then gonna say, he probably felt bad and shit. He gonna bring us some white ass Oreos.
On a black nerd show.
He gonna say, take
Hey,
these
got
white
the
Oreos.
peanut. Oh, you got the peanut butter Snickers still.
Help a brother out.
Kind of still want one.
Thank you.
Uh,
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I appreciate
What's the
that.
Snickers commercial?
I appreciate that. Thank
Don't
you.
say they name. They ain't paying us yet.
Thank you for this nondescript chocolate candy. Thank you for this chocolate
Jason
candy.
Richardson says his Game of Thrones thought they were unfortunately stuck with trying to figure out what to do with the end of the series because the because the entirety. Hold on, because the entirety was they had the books to be able to base it on the show. Without knowing where the real story was going, they had to make something up. Now, that's called being a writer.
Like the last 3 seasons were ahead of the books, right?
Right. After the last 3 seasons.
And they say that's where the decline happened.
It was
I am a geek all of a sudden.
Yeah, see?
Look,
He's about to argue real heavy.
Yeah, because that's bullshit. First of all, the books are like 3 years, they're 3 years ahead of the books. And then on top of that, they had enough time. First of all, the writing on the show has been so freaking brilliant. And I'm guessing because, like you said, they had the help of the books. But at the same time, once they got past a certain point and the books ended, and they still had that amazing writing, how do you get to this finale? There was no logical tying this series up in a nice, neat little bow. You could not do it.
It should have just been continuous.
It should have just, like, if anything else, leave room for
a future. Here's my thing. The best part, there's only 2 parts in this entire finale that I like. Number 1, Ghost finally getting pet. I'm just saying, love the end.
It's like the dog.
Yeah. And don't worry, we almost done with Game of Thrones. And Daenerys Targaryen coming off a Drago, walking up to see her army, and them dragons.
Like that.
Let me tell you something. When they did that scene, I said, "Oh, this thing about to be right."
Yo,
and 5 minutes later,
you don't understand how hype I was.
Then she went full M. Bison.
Yeah,
full M. Bison.
So to have the opportunity to see that and think, so y'all knew what you could do cinematic wise to make this a better story. Y'all did more on your shot selections than you did on the actual writing of the show. Because my thing is, first of all right, why?
And there was no constraint on the number of episodes they could have did for the finale.
Well, they just wanted to get up out of there because they was tired of being there. That one fight scene with the White Walkers took 55 days. I don't know what it's like to be 55 days in a freezing cold on a set, but I'm pretty sure I would want that season to be short too. I'm gonna just say this. And I got to talk to my black brother, Grey Worm, because I had a serious racial issue in this. Wow. So Daenerys is gone. So basically, Grey Worm's in charge.
Yeah.
He brings a prisoner of war to a war council meeting. He says the prisoner of war cannot speak. Black man said, "Shut that white dwarf up. Don't you? Are you finished? Are you done?"
That's how he was the entire time.
He told him to shut your gap, and then he proceeded to give a 15-minute dissertation on not only how things should proceed, but then they did it.
Exactly.
Disregarded him completely, and everybody got a vote, but Grey Worm.
Right.
Y'all gonna stop trading.
Who commanded the biggest freaking army in Westeros?
So you mean to tell me the black war general with the largest army
and technically still a dragon,
and a Dothraki, all the color, you know what, y'all left all the colored people behind. That's what you did. Y'all writers, y'all left all the black people in the white land of Westeros.
They left.
Y'all pulled all the power, and they did what we all need to do. They got on a boat and got off on the first thing smoking. They was like, "We are out. I'm
gonna get away from here.
We are going to Grey Worm, where are we going? We are going to establish Wakanda. We are getting out of here."
I'm done with you.
It's crazy.
Listen, all I'm saying is, y'all been doing black people dirty this entire series. Daenerys Targaryen was killed off in this happenstance fashion and made for terrible TV.
That was so passive. It just annoyed the shit out of me.
Yep. And it was anticlimactic, and honestly, this episode was a pillow princess. It didn't do anything. It didn't put any work in. It just laid.
I would have rather seen
it just laid
like Grey Worm.
I was okay with all
him protecting Daenerys and Jon trying to, and he, you know what I mean, somehow, some way, kill him and now tell the dragon to burn him, and it doesn't.
I would love that.
He got a sword in her because she can't be burned either. And then he would have took the dragon and the throne.
And Arya being a part of the many-face, having the powers of the many-face god to be able to change her complexion. She only used it to kill the Frey. Like, there's so many things that they could have did better. Andre says, I thought this part of the book, this story, wasn't done yet. That's what the producer said. The end of this story isn't done yet in the book. Am I wrong? Enlighten me. Yes, George R.R. Martin has already said that the ending in the television show Game of Thrones will not be the ending in the book.
It can't be.
He's going to
He will not sell one book.
An ignorant amount of books from not only fans of the series, but disgruntled fans of the show now will want to see a better ending.
Like legit. Oh. Now, do you think there's a scenario where they could go back and, well, no, depending on how much time passes.
Well, no, they release a book
like once every 7 to 10 years or something like that.
No, here's all they got to do to fix the season finale of Game of Thrones, and it's really simple. You collect the soul, power, time, mind, reality stones.
Oh, good Lord.
You get Bruce Banner to get the quantum realm. We run this thing back, and we do it all over again. Because y'all done dropped the ball.
Save all 3 dragons? Or just 2?
Jason says, what I wanted them to do. Dany gets booed by the surviving people. Agreed. The people want Jon to be king. Makes sense because Varys has sent out letters to the Westerosian hierarchy that, there's another guy in contention. Dany gets mad at Jon. Dany gets the dragon to attack Jon. Drag betrays Dany and goes with Jon. Dragon would have betrayed Dany. I don't know because it was the mother of dragons, but that would have been interesting. Jon sits on throne, Sansa becomes queen, Tyrion dies heroically, and Arya leaves with the blacksmith to rule his land. You want to pigeonhole Arya into marriage?
No, not especially not to him.
No, not that. No, he was new.
Yeah,
and he was pressed.
Especially after everything she's seen in her life, from how the internal workings of royalty works and how they're just destroyed her family.
She would never be happy, and I think that kind of life.
I like what Andre said. He says, I think Grey Worm should have stabbed Dany, and then it was discovered that it was Arya using his face.
Nah, they weren't going to do that.
I want the same thing, but only with Jaime Lannister with Arya killing Cersei. I wanted her to roll up on Cersei as Jaime and hug him, and then get shanked the same way he did Dany.
But yeah, even her death wasn't like I wanted to see. I don't know if that's just me being sadistic, but just
she didn't get the death she deserved.
People want to see her pay, man. People want to see her pay.
Death by bricks while holding her ancestral lover.
Something. I mean, go back into medieval times and get creative.
Yeah,
for Cersei.
Y'all got rats and burning.
Destroyed by a dragon.
You got a whole person that was burned by a dragon, and Death by Bricks was the best you come up with.
She wasn't destroyed by a dragon. Like, no, it was crumpled on her.
Listen, on the Head Nerds in Charge fan page, I'm gonna post a really insightful YouTube video that kind of gives you 22 different breakdowns of things you might have missed in Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
it's a really good video. It kind of shows you some key points that you might have missed. Some little nuggets that I'm pretty sure you Game of Thrones fans will appreciate. We're gonna move on from Game of Booty because
now I didn't watch this show plenty of times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And normally I see some type of ice cold soft drink or beverage or libations. So now when I come, not only does Sassy not bring chili.
No, she
didn't. Nothing to drink in the shop.
No.
See how they doing the black? See, that's. I mean, I guess I'm not a big enough nerd.
No, we
deserve. Did I send? Did you get my rider before I got here?
Your agent sent it over. It's now being used as toilet paper in the bathroom.
Damn.
Oh
my God.
But but if you would like to get it, it's definitely floating next to some other Snickers. Anyway, listen, y'all. We're
ain't nothing in my chalice.
Game of Thrones is over, but the prequels are being shot, and the books are still yet to come out.
But I will say this, and I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you good.
It has been an amazing ride.
Facts.
I appreciate all the hard work that went into making that series, the writing, the production, cinematography. I thought it was a great, great series. It just ended bad, and it's nothing we haven't seen before. We've seen a similar ending with what was it, The Sopranos?
I was just
The
about
way
to
that
say
went
that.
on
My
works,
mom
I
couldn't
hate that
stop
too.
talking about that. She talked about that for
I mean,
a month
if
straight.
anything, like if anything, shows like this did one more important thing though.
Go ahead.
They got folks to actually get these books and read them and take part of these stories. You know what I mean? Like
Not
people never
me.
heard of. Well, most folks haven't heard of Game of Thrones until the show came out. That people started reading the books, which was awesome. You know, it got people reading.
Jason Richardson always comes with the gems. Honestly, Jason says, has there ever been an HBO series with a gratifying ending?
Not even The Wire, yo.
Whoa!
The people
Look,
I wasn't gonna say that.
we're about to fire everybody up in here. Hold on. Sopranos.
You don't talk about that show.
Sopranos, the ending sucked. I
that was
hated
whack.
it.
total letdown.
Oz,
Let down.
I was a big Oz fan. I
So
was
was
not
I.
a fan of the way that ended.
Yeah.
What other HBO series have there been? Well, Game of Thrones.
Well, my Insecure might end right. That didn't end yet.
It hasn't
though. I
ended.
really
Insecure
hope that
might.
it does.
I don't know why you brought that.
Because I love that show when it
If
comes
I
to
say
HBO.
that show annoys the hell out of me,
I love
Kick me
Insecure.
off. That show annoys
Why?
the shit out of me.
Please tell me
'Cause
why.
it's just not. I don't feel like it's entertaining on any level whatsoever.
Oh, maybe it's because you can't relate as a male.
Somebody says
Yeah,
somebody said leftovers
and
ended
I'm
well.
raising daughters, so
Did it resolve things? I guess so. Let me see, like,
Yeah,
were
I
people,
can't.
just like Addison
I
said,
can't.
were people happy with The
like
Wire?
I said, relate to that chilling.
I relate to it. That's my life.
That is your life.
Some of it is my life, unfortunately.
It's very insightful.
I'll put it like this. Let me see. I'm looking up series that have ended. Curb Your Enthusiasm. Somebody said that ended well.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've ever seen the precursor to The Wire was a 6-part miniseries called
What?
The Corner.
No.
And that was what sparked them going ahead and giving the green light to The Wire. And all of the actors and actresses in The Wire have played in some part a role in The Corner.
Gotta check it
If
out.
you want to see a good HBO quick miniseries that depicts the hood in a true sense of the form, because Baltimore is nothing but a low budget Philly. Yeah, I mean that. Definitely go check that out.
Shots fired.
What do y'all? Who's a Boardwalk Empire fan?
Pressed by
I've seen the majority of it.
is long.
I've seen the majority of Boardwalk Empire.
Was it a good ending?
I think Boardwalk Empire was a good ending.
Yeah, they resolve. Once again, as long as you resolve things and just like y'all said, just wrap everything up in a proper way, like wrap everything up as it's should
But
be
still,
wrapped up,
Boardwalk Empire left you with an inclination that they could come back and
Right.
do and expand on some more of the storylines.
And that's just like The Sopranos
And
too.
because one thing about Boardwalk Empire, they had really great character development.
They really did. They
I
really
have
did.
never seen an episode of Boardwalk
You would
Empire,
like it.
and I
You would
definitely
like it.
want to. I put it like this: right now, there's still Westworld out there, so geeks, get up on that Westworld,
Westworld too.
because that's going to be.
I like Westworld.
Yeah, I thought that was a good series. I got to check out season 2.
Yeah, I think Jeffrey Wright is probably one of the most underrated actors of his
That dude's
time.
done everything, man. He was Martin Luther King.
Jean-Michel Basquiat. That's when I
He was a
fell in love with
Dominican.
him as an actor. Him when he played Basquiat. If you haven't seen that, that's the title of the movie. It's called Basquiat.
Yeah.
Go
All
check
right.
it out.
Listen, we're giving you all kinds of recommendations for your after Game of Thrones Jones. Next up, one Sassy Neko has something that she wants to get sassy about.
Yes, sassy and sassy.
Oh,
On the head mirrors in charge. If you're not watching already, you need to look. So we're about to touch on a subject that I think is a big deal or major deal in kids networking, because these things need to be addressed. And I don't think we try to we don't take children as seriously as we should, because people need to realize that children develop into what we are right now, adults. So if they go undereducated on subjects, even if they're touchy subjects, that could be a problem later down the road. So recently, they told us that on Arthur, the teacher, Mr. Ratburn, he actually had a wedding, And this episode kind of goes through like the kids are thinking that the wedding planner that he's talking to the whole time is the person that he's getting married to, and they're just like, oh, like the teacher can't have a life because teachers don't have lives outside of school, yada yada, all of that good stuff. But then after that, they find out that the woman that they thought he was being married to was not actually the person he was marrying at all, and it was actually the guy that they met at the candy store earlier in the episode. They didn't even know he had any relation with them, and then here we go, and they walk down the aisle, and it's like, okay, these two men are being married. Now, you might ask, why is that such a big deal? Here's why it's a big deal. Because yes, we have had this happen in other children's series such as Steven Universe, but it's always women. They always do this when they want to introduce it to children on the concept of like gay anything, that the first thing they want to do is women. I guess in the public eye has been seen as more acceptable, like we're the only people who do this or something, or that it's only socially accepted by women. So I thought it was a really big deal that they actually showed that this isn't just a women thing, this could be a man or a woman thing. And they didn't do it in an inappropriate manner to where it would leave you having to be like, oh my God, I gotta explain this to my kids. It's kind of just well, I mean, it varies from you do have to explain it because your children are going to probably ask if they're not already made aware from social media, which they're heavily on all the time, whether anybody wants to accept that part or not. And I feel like that was a better platform for it to be explained through than social media that kind of just smacks you in the face with stuff, and it can be very inappropriate for children, or age inappropriate when it's online because there's no filter for that. They kind of just see what they see. But that brings in other things on top of that, because the next problem is in Alabama, they refuse to show it, which I find very funny that I don't really think they have a platform right now to be making any complaints about something like that, considering the things that they think is okay to do, which is taking away women's basic human rights to make a decision on what they want to do with their bodies. But you have a problem with something like that. Doesn't make any sense to me. But either which way, let's go.
Oh, Sassy's working through that outline.
Yeah, no.
I told her, I said, I'm not going to say a word to the end.
Get him. Get him, Sassy.
Thank you for giving me that. All right, then. So, and then also it's giving them time to figure this out in the house as opposed to out in public, where it's like they're presented with a situation and they don't get it. It was already explained to them in the house thanks to that Arthur episode that brought up the question of talking about this with your children. And then just because gay anything got presented, it doesn't mean that it has to be sexual, which I don't really understand why that has to be the only center around it is just the sexual part, because there's more to it. Just like a little girl and a little boy, if they like each other, we're not going to automatically assume if it's 5-year-old children that it's just a sexual thing. And stuff goes a little deeper than that. And I feel like we shouldn't just revolve it around that aspect, because there's a way to explain it without having to get into that part. So that's informational, so that they don't judge other people or other people's children, because we're in a generation right now where this is heavily present. Walk downtown not too long ago and you're out and see a whole family. They have their son, and yes, he had on girls' clothing. But if I don't explain this to my kid, it gives room for them to point and stare and make fun of one another, which is something I'm heavily against, because I don't like that with children with their teasing and whatnot. But they do it because they don't get it. So the less that you explain, the more of a problem that it's going to cause later down the road. And it doesn't necessarily mean just because you explain that to them that it's going to make them turn into anything. It's just an explanation, just like when you explain anything else to them. It doesn't mean that that's what they're going to be doing from now on, but they know. They're more aware now. And it could help explain some things for them if they are one of the few that are going through this and they notice they seem to be different from the rest of the children and they feel misunderstood or like nobody's getting them, but this thing that they like and relate to, just acknowledge that, which is heavily important. But to sum up all of it, for the most part, basically, Arthur, I'm proud of you because we came a long way. I remember when I saw Mr. Redbird, I mean, you could feel the influence of Mr. Redbird was a little different, but nobody ever spoke on it. It was just one of those things that we just all assumed because back then that was always just an assumed thing and not something we could speak on. And I'm happy to see them actually speak on it instead of just having it be assumed. Yeah, but that sums up Sassy's rant.
Sassy, that is the most I have heard you talk in one consecutive. I love this.
Sassy, yeah, sassy.
So, allow me to retort.
I'm ready.
Now, I always like to try to give contrasting viewpoints on all things because I'm not, and it's not even so much an agreement because a couple of things that you said that I like keying in on. Number one, treating all people with human decency. I don't care what your morality stance is or what your faith or religion. At the end of the day, you still have to treat all people with human decencies, and that is a faith-based sentiment. At the end of the day, even if someone doesn't believe the same way that you believe, you have a lot of religious people making state legislation, which I believe there should be a complete separation of church and state. There should not be men of God making laws for all human people because not everybody follows certain faith-based tenements. Now, with that being said, and I won't get into how the Bible talks about not getting into politics, but that's a whole nother conversation. Having a scene like this and having young children, I agree with you. It opens the door for a conversation because a lot of times you don't know what's going on in a child. I'll never forget my mother pulling me aside and saying, "Hey, I saw something at the end of Power Rangers about fighting and I want to talk to you about it." And I was like, "Wait, you watch Power Rangers?" And my mom sat down and she had a very frank conversation with me about violence and being in the hood and how to protect myself and da-da-da-da-da. Now, there's been plenty of shows, cartoons. Remember G.I. Joe used to always do Now You Know and No One's Half the Battle. This is a whether people like it or not, gay marriage and homosexuals ain't going nowhere, y'all. So if you're not having the conversation with your children about sexual orientations and how to interact with human beings, then something's already wrong. But if it takes a cartoon to prompt you to have those conversations with your children, I'm not mad at that.
But something's wrong.
Yeah, something's definitely wrong if you're not already doing that within the home. And everybody loves representation in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Sometimes you don't know you have something within you intrinsically until you see it on screen or until you experience it in the world. And you're like, I thought I was this way, but now I'm that way. Yep. And I'm not saying that you necessarily, like you said, you have to go down either road. Because there are plenty of people, just as many people who are openly gay and accept themselves for who they are. There are a lot of people who also fight that tendency. And they do their best to, for lack of a better term, not be gay. But something like this could open the door where you can have those conversations with your children at a very early age. I mean, grown adults watch Arthur. I just recently watched an episode of My Little Pony that resonated with me on a level that I'm almost scared.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, My Little Pony Friendship Magic. They had a little workhorse, Applejack. She was trying to pick all the orchard.
So are you considering becoming a brony now?
I hate you. No, I'm not. No, I'm saying that.
Not all bronies are bad.
But I agree with you that these children's stories are now deeper, and they can be vehicles to have real life, good conversations that need to be had, that did not need to be had 10, 20 years ago. Well, they needed to be had 10, 20 years ago. It's just that we weren't doing it. Shane, what do you think? You actually are the father.
Yeah.
You have kids.
Yeah, major shout out to my two beautiful young ladies, Kayla and Cameron. My issue isn't with the way that this was presented on Arthur.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a fan of Arthur, going back for a long time. My issue is a much broader issue, and I'm going to paint with a much broader stroke when it comes to this.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately for me, excuse me, I feel like, now, Kurt, you hit the nail on the head when you said, homosexuality, gay marriage, it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely understand that. I have no issues with whatever sexual orientation you want to be. I can hit you with all cliches, friends, but what's important to me, and what I feel like I'm always a little frustrated with, is it seems like a bombardment of it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they force it down your throat 24/7.
So you think there's a gay agenda?
I most certainly do believe there's a gay agenda. Now, here's where I understand why the gay agenda exists.
I would concur.
They're
Because
looking for
black people had a civil rights agenda.
acceptance. Yeah, and ultimately, we've never gotten what we were looking for. And I'm not saying gays are not going to get what they're looking for. And is it okay to say that? Gays? I don't want to be offensive.
Honestly, I don't know. I never
look, all right, so the point I was trying to
speak
make
frankly,
is,
and we'll figure it out on the back end.
Right. The point I was trying to make is, I feel like there's an agenda, and when you're constantly bombarded with those images, I think it forces you to be constantly on the defensive about what what my kids see. Now, fortunately, my kids aren't to the point where they do have a social media. Kayla, the oldest, has a Snapchat, and really, she only Snapchats with her aunt and me and her dad. Like, that's it. Like, she only has 2 Snapchat friends, her aunt and myself.
I know that's right.
And that's it. But they don't have any social media behind that. Most of their YouTube stuff that they watch is filtered and I can control. See, I'm a very proactive parent, so I believe in total, not control of your kids, because I want them to have free expression, to be able to express who they are. But my thing is, I don't want them doing things because it seems like it's the popular thing to do, or because the masses are doing it and they don't want to feel like they're being left behind, or they want to be a part of what's cool and what's hip and what's going on. There's a certain amount of pressure that comes along with being bombarded with certain imagery that leaves you with choices. I know for a while,
it's not a fad.
Right. For a while, when I was coming up, we were being bombarded with, this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it did for you guys, but it made me more curious about drugs. Not to use them, but to find out more about what is this phenomenon that Reagan is talking about, Nancy Reagan put an initiative to.
Dare.
Every fucking commercial, Dare, right? We going to Dare, right? My understanding, it made me more curious. Now,
and they weren't even right.
Because
a lot of the propaganda that they had about marijuana was incorrect information.
I don't think I see one specifically.
No, and I'm not even there. I'm not trying to advocate for one way or another. But a lot of the information, like the propaganda,
they're giving out here was wrong.
Those
goggles.
I always question how effective was it.
Right.
Yeah.
How effective was
not very? It doesn't seem
exactly. And then hindsight is always 20/20, because now look at the reversal of fortune when it comes to the drug epidemic. Those measures didn't help the crackheads back then, and they were demonized and criminalized and thrown in jail. Now that we have opioid addicts, now they're addicts. Now they need help. They need rehab and not jail. What's going to happen 10, 15, 20 years from now when it's universally accepted and it's not, people aren't being bombarded with the imagery of homosexuality constantly? I mean, just constantly. I'm constantly trying to adjust what I'm watching and what they're exposed to. Because again, I don't have an issue with it, but why at 7 and 5 do I need to be having these conversations?
Now, can I jump in there for a second, Jan?
Yeah.
Because that parallel. So we had the DARE initiative, which was basically to get all inner city kids away from drugs.
Right.
They demonized it. They ostracized those that partook in it, and they criminalized everybody in the hood.
Absolutely.
Now, 2019, it's a major industry.
Facts.
A major industry that not only do they profit from,
can't take apart.
you can't. It blows my mind that the same people, the same government that said don't do this, now says, okay, how do we tax it?
But had a patent on it all along.
Now, with that being said, when you talk about over imagalization, where basically you're bombarded with these images constantly in entertainment and media. For African Americans, we know we love representation. That's why Black Panther rocked it at the box office, because we had never seen a Black superhero.
Right.
We see Black people on screen, we get excited. The creator of Insecure, I forget what her name is.
Issa Rae.
Issa Rae. What did she say? I'm rooting for everybody Black.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Now, I'm not going to get into identity, who you identify as, this, that, and the third. All I'm saying is, when you're talking about 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, these are the most impressionable of impressionable minds.
Yep.
Sesame Street has been doing things like this for eons. They just recently they debuted a new puppet that is a foster child.
Yeah.
Shit, Pee Wee Herman back in the day.
Well,
dealt with
Pee Wee. You sure you want to bring him up?
on the show.
Yeah.
As kids, we were exposed to certain things on the show.
Shit.
Right.
Cowboy Curse was that boy?
Right.
Cowboy
Actually,
Curse.
Lawrence Fishburne before he was more.
Cowboy Curse.
But they even had a Muppet who was a victim. Well, he had AIDS.
Age, yeah.
And I'll never forget people being in an uproar as to why would you show a puppet with AIDS? That's not the imagery we want to see, and this, that, and the third. But it bridged it wasn't an issue in America, but in Africa, that was a big thing because AIDS is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're using it as a vehicle to teach somebody about the world around them, I have no issue.
That's why I was okay with Arthur.
Right, exactly. But if you're doing it as an agenda, as a, hey, this is what you should be doing, or there's a fine line between education and advocation. You get what I mean?
This one was a little bit of both.
And from what I'm not, look, all I'm saying is, if you're a parent, police what your children watch. If you have certain morals and morality standards,
Right.
you better be hard pressed on what your child takes in every day.
Absolutely.
All that leaving your kid on YouTube when Momo was out. Oh, Momo. How about Monisha? Why don't you watch Little Tank Tank so we don't have to worry about him turning on the gas, so that you know what he watching?
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, it's incumbent upon every household to raise your children up in the way that you see fit.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask both of you an honest question.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, this is just what things perceive to be to me. This is my perception.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to ask you this question first before I say it.
Okay.
Do either of you feel like that there's been this rash or this upswell of or a large or rapid increase of the LGBTQ community?
Okay, I guess.
You mean increasing numbers?
Like, the numbers have increased exponentially.
I don't know, honestly. I mean, well, for me, I guess it's a little different from the time period of when you guys were like in high school in comparison to when I was in high school. But
Try to call me old.
well, I mean, y'all older than me, so it was a little different for my generation because for me, that was a common thing. Like, there was a lot of people when I was in school, and even like, for instance, down to my best friend, who at an early age, I was able to identify that already at that point. We were in probably like, I want to say elementary going on, because I was at 4th, 5th grade, and I could kind of feel it, but it wasn't like I had a labeling for it, but I could feel it. So by the time that it came about that it was actually brought up, like, hey, this is what I am, I was like, so I knew that already, like, forever ago. So this is nothing new to me. Then by the time I was in like middle school and high school, this was like, especially when I went to Bartram and I was in high school, it was a common thing to where you had the groups that you knew this is what they were into, this is what this group is into, and everybody was pretty open about it. So it was just like,
see, Sassy lives in a different era. She's from the 90s up, like in the 80s.
Yeah, I know you guys did.
It's definitely upswell for us because not that there's been an increase. It's just people are more open about it.
That's where
It's not that there's more. It's just that there's more. It's more people talking about it, more people identifying with it, and it's in our everyday society and media. There before.
Oh no, I was gonna follow up on what Shannon said about the fad thing, though, because what I am gonna say is there were a lot of people in my school also who were making it into and especially amongst the girls.
Listen, girls,
it was just like this thing to where it was like popular amongst girls, and I'm like,
and
no.
I think that's extremely dangerous.
Well, see, remember Girls High? Listen, if you're from Philadelphia, most of our listeners are from Philadelphia, but we got New York. Listen, Girls High School is an all-girls public school that's here in the city. And I know for a fact, that they openly recruited, I want to make sure I'm good with my terms.
Right.
Put it like this, people who were not in that lifestyle, they would recruit them in, specifically, identify. And if you did not roll with it, you got jumped.
Yeah.
Or you got cut, or you had your hair. So
many girls who I had as friends who I trusted to just be friends had them in a personal space, and then all of a sudden you getting too close, and I'm like, wait, no, we didn't discuss this. Oh, well, what you talking about? Because everybody know, Sassy's not everybody. I mean, that's cool if you want to do that, but don't push what you're into.
And that's what Shannon is saying. Shannon is saying,
trying to get into from the time I was in high school and just seeing the way things are now, and it seems like to me the population has grown exponentially. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. What I'm saying is, are these people legit in these communities? And again, I don't want to question anybody's sexual orientation, but I see a lot of the back and forth.
right.
And you're allowed to do whatever you want. You've grown, you make a decision, you make a choice. But the key word is grown. I'm seeing a lot of kids in elementary school, middle school, and in high school who can't legally make decisions for themselves legally, or it's accepted that they identify as something that they'll carry with themselves for the rest of their life, have to live up to.
I draw my line. And you know what? Look, I ain't gonna hold on. I draw my line with these parents who allow their children to have sex changes and body modifications. And I remember we weren't even allowed to get temporary tattoos because our mama didn't want us thinking that we could get permanent tattoos because you ain't gonna scar up the body I made.
Yeah.
Now, listen, people. There's acceptance. There's understanding. There's no one's trying to dehumanize anyone.
No, absolutely
not.
not.
Children do not have the functioning capability of reasonable thought. Honestly, for men, it's not until they're 47. For most women,
to maturity.
most men don't have common sense until they're about 47. Most women mature pretty fast, but we're talking about children, pre-adolescents, people who haven't even gone through puberty yet. Discussions, understanding. Shoot, we had the sex talk. Me and my parents had the sex talk. If you could, the same time you have the sex talk is the same time you may want to integrate. Hey, if you have certain feelings, you need to come and talk to me about it. It should not be through Arthur.
But let me say this. A lot of people are opposed to doing this at a really young age because they don't want to have to go. They feel like their children should stay innocent. That phrase.
These kids ain't
Now, what I'm gonna say is, yeah, the thing is, they're not, and I know firsthand from my own personal life that it wasn't just
I
an
was a
innocent
trifling little
life.
boy.
And I'm so thankful that my mom didn't listen to what everybody else had in their ear about, oh, don't tell her about that, because if you talking to her about it, that's condoning for her to go do it. Because, listen, it was going to happen regardless whether you wanted it to or not, which is how we end up with these unwanted pregnancies all over the place because nobody wants to stand up and actually explain that because they feel as though, oh, they should stay. That saved my life so many times from predators who could have possibly gotten me because I didn't understand my body and how stuff was supposed to work.
Right.
Because I had people who told me that they didn't even know what a period was when they finally got one because nobody actually thought that it was okay to talk to them about that because it was sexual. But I don't see anything sexual about like something of my body that I can't do anything about. Like it's gonna happen whether you have it or not.
Right. Well, see, I have a big. I not only do I co-sign what you just said, but if you don't have those conversations, if someone of the same sex approaches your child, they might say, "Oh, they're the same sex as me,
so
it's okay," because they're not equating their affection in a sexual nature. You have to have those conversations. We got whoever's calling in. We apologize. Engineer stepped out, so if you can just take a pause and call back. We'll let you know when the warden's back in, so we can take phone calls.
Wait, I could take him and still talk on the mic. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Yeah, well, keep calling because we can let you on the line.
We about to come get you.
Yeah. Just keep that line rocking and rolling. And it just went away as soon as you sat there. Oh, there he is.
Oh, came back.
Caller, you're on the line with Head Nerds in Charge. Who am I speaking with? Hey, what's up, Tab? Tab, you hear what we talking about? Yeah. So tell us your thoughts.
Mic check.
Right. Right. Well, hold on. Can I ask you this? Well, wait a minute. No, now I don't think. No, and that's fine. No. I don't. It may be that simplistic for certain people, but it's not always that simplistic for everybody. Because if you grow up with Now, but now, what if you don't have those parents? What if you don't have those parents? Oh, but not everybody accepts a simple answer like that. Like me, I wasn't one of those kids that just took, oh, don't do this, or hey, this is just the way it is. I question everything. So I mean, that might work for you. But hold on.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, nobody's necessarily. But wait a minute, hold on, Todd. But that's for one facet of society. If you grow up in a religious background, or if typically any religious background, it's going to be frowned upon. Now, if you do it from a religious standpoint, you can't just say homosexuality is bad. You got to say, hey, those people that commit adultery, they're bad too. Those people who are out here fornicating, they're bad too. You have to lump it all in because sexual immorality. Right. Now, all I'm saying is you can't just you can't. Well, no. But I'm not saying it specifically for you, but I mean for everybody that's listening. Right. But I mean for everybody that's listening. When you say, hey, you just paint a broad stroke and you just say, hey, this is the way it is. This is life. Everything is normal. This, that, and third. That works for a certain part of society. But there are those who have a specific morality base where no, they may not say, hey, this person is this, and they might not be toxic and saying you treat this person differently, but they're not going to advocate for it. They're not going to say, hey, this is okay. But so then it's not as simplistic. Right. There you go. Because that's not. I was about to say that's not what when you say, hey, we just got to give them simple answers for this. That works for if that's your child in your house. Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And my big thing with that. Well, it depends. It depends on the household. But my big thing is, if you're going to have that conversation about how homosexuality is wrong, you make sure that you include fornication and adultery because it's all sexual immorality. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is, if you as a parent, that's what I'm saying because all I'm saying is have the conversations without hypocrisy. That's all I'm saying. If you out here skipping and dipping and your kids see you smashing a whole bunch of different chicks in the streets, and and you have a problem with homosexuality, it's real talk. That's why I say it gets confusing for a child. Wait a minute, okay, so they're wrong for kissing each other, but you've kissed every chick that I've seen you bring into this household. Don't be for one if you're religious.
Yeah,
I'm saying if you're religious.
If you're going to say one thing,
then say it for it all.
Kids will call you out these
days.
Listen,
don't bring it back in the house. You better keep it outside.
Don't get me to preaching up in here because in that scripture it quantifies fornication, homosexuality, and adultery as sins against the flesh. Yeah, but that's a different life, a different time. Don't get me started on that. All I'm saying is I feel what you're saying, Ted. All right, listen. One issue at a time. First of all, Alabama doesn't even want to treat black people like human beings.
I think we just need to like get rid of those like.
You want to get rid of Alabama?
Like
Get rid of Alabama.
No, do
Throw 'em off the
yeah,
bag.
do what Bugs Bunny did when he sold off Florida's song of Alabama,
Alabama.
and just like let it
That
float,
whole-
like
that
it
whole
can go
chunk
do its
can go.
own thing.
That whole chunk can go. Dog.
Yo,
You got a lot
thank
more
you for
states
calling.
to solve.
We appreciate that insight because this can be a touchy subject for some, but we try to tackle and keep it in real talk, and we appreciate you. Mic drop.
Lies.
Mic drop. Mic drop.
I don't even
Sam's
know
a
what
beast.
y'all do. She lost me there. I don't know.
Sam's my girl. That's why I love Tef. She always come with the hotness. Thank you, Tef. All right, we got about 5 minutes till we got to get ready to get up out of here. Let me check with Shan. Shan, that's 5 minutes on your side too?
Looks like 7 on that.
All right, so we'll prolong it for about
Well,
7. Well,
wait, before I want to have my last closing statement on it.
by
Get
the
'em.
way,
So the moral to the story is
Shan gonna
there's
say
going to
that.
be a lot of stuff in social media and on the media and the TV and out in these streets and everywhere else. But if you set your kid up with a good moral compass in the house, and the way that you would like, I guess, because I can't tell you what your moral compass is, then most likely, if you end up fortunate enough to have a kid like Sassy who valued my mother's opinions when she told them to me because I knew she only wanted the best for me, I may not have done everything she wanted me to do, but I definitely took everything she said into account to get to the point that I'm at right now. So they need that moral compass in the house because that's where it starts from first is you, the parent, not the media, not who made the stuff, but you, because you're the parent.
I couldn't agree with that more. You are absolutely right. And as a parent, it is your job, your responsibility to make sure that you give your child every advantage that you possibly can in life. And anybody who knows me will tell you, I don't sugarcoat shit for my girls.
I could open it.
Expectation.
That would
The
be a weird flavor.
expectation is for me to never hide anything from them, and I don't want to ever be embarrassed by anything in front of them. Now, what I will say is you'll never see women parading in and out the house or constant women in and out their lives being introduced. You'll never see that. I take them on dates. I bring them flowers. I do everything in my power so they understand certain concepts because it's my responsibility to make sure that they make the best choice they can possibly make in life. It's about decision to the next decision, to the next choice, to the next choice, to the next decision. And as long as I give them the necessary tools to deal with those decisions and make those hard choices sometimes, I feel like I did my job as a father. And with that being said, as far as whatever they've been exposed to, again, it's my responsibility to make sure that they understand what they're being exposed to. And I don't hide anything. Whatever daddy does or daddy is into, they know. Okay, they've been here to the studio plenty. They've shot commercials for me. They're into certain things that I'm into personally that I won't put out on air. But just know that the most important thing you can do for your kids is to give them the information. Don't try to hide anything from kids. All right, they understand more than you know. And as far as what the original point I was trying to make about the overexposure to homosexuality and LGBTQ community, again, it's my personal preference to try to limit the amount of exposure that they have. I don't want them to run and hide. They kiss in the street and that's something I'm faced with and I have to deal with it. I'll deal with it and I'm fine with doing so. But I don't want them to think that that's something that they have to do or be a part of or be overly curious about when I just don't think it's an appropriate age to have that conversation.
Instagram models
Well,
leave a big
Instagram.
Good. They make you feel insecure sometimes.
All
But
I want to say is
Please.
have conversations without hypocrisy.
yes.
I'm a firm believer in whatever moral stance you stand on, make sure that you are walking in that same path. And that when you have these conversations, you have the ability to talk and talk concisely and talk from a place of love. Whatever it is, it's always got to be a place of love because we
Win and end with it.
Because at the end of the day, there is a toxicity in not agreeing with someone's lifestyle. And you have to be careful to not advocate for exclusion. Human beings are still human beings. I don't care what you do, and I don't care what you do in these streets. Everybody is owed the right of respect and love.
Yes.
Everybody.
I mean,
Well, no, there's some trash human beings.
Like you.
Yeah, a couple exes don't deserve it. But aside from them,
well, I mean,
when you walk away from this conversation, no matter how you feel on either side of the fence, whether you feel as though, I'm not going to let my child see this episode of Arthur, or, hey, this is a great way for me to help have this conversation for my children. Neither one of you are wrong. Know that. Neither one are wrong. How you raise your children is how you raise your children. Just make sure that you raise your children to love and respect people and human beings regardless. That weeds out toxicity. To be able to have your own morality, your own moral stance, but still respect the next person's space. I say it time and time again. I don't have a problem with people who are racist. You can hate black people all you want. Respect me.
That's it.
If you talk to me disrespectfully, I don't care if you my black brother or if you are a full blown. You're going to get the same energy regardless. So when you're standing on whatever ground, just realize you might not change, but society around you is changing. And you have to adapt to the changes of your environment. You have to not fall into the mold necessarily, but you better be aware of it. Because unfortunately, if you don't have the conversation with your children, somebody's going to talk to them about it. And you don't want misinformation.
Exactly.
We got about 2 minutes left. We're going to get ready to wrap this thing up. Who the fuck? What was his name? Professor Ratburn? Mr. Ratburn.
Mr. Ratburn.
Yeah, I ain't never seen an episode of Arthur in my life.
What?
Not a single solitary.
Okay, you gotta be lying.
Yes, nobody wants that.
That teacher was suspect for a minute.
That
teacher was suspect.
They love to cuss me out. Channel 12 sucked.
So you was never a Mr. Rogers fan?
I was a Mr. Rogers fan.
Yeah, exactly.
I grew up in the hood. Before we had
you was right in front of the antenna, going trying to fix it.
Before there was a Wade cable, we used to turn on PBS for Zoogaloo Zoo, Sesame Street, all of that good stuff.
And I was still looking at it by choice. I just wanted to look at it. It was good.
But see, I never like Kalu, the little bald head white boy.
I didn't like Caillou.
Caillou, what is his name? Caillou.
Oh my God, yes, Caillou. I didn't look at that show for that. I looked at it for Arthur. I looked at it for Wednesday's house. No, everybody acts like they don't remember that for some reason, but I do.
Remember.
Listen, after LeVar Burton's Reading Rainbow, don't nobody care about PBS.
I like that show too, though. But I'm still coming on. Then they tried to switch the song up a little bit. I ain't like that.
Not that Daniel Tiger joke.
Listen, we get ready to get up out of here. Remember, always keep it locked to the Head Nerds in Charge, Wednesdays 8 to 10. And it's actually a pretty good rant.
Thank you.
And you did a good outline. It was all professional looking.
I'm not going to lie. I was kind of nervous, and then I got sweaty.
Let me tell you something. That wig smell like a turtle tank right now.
No, it smelled like shea butter from my hair.
No, Sassy always smells good because she smells like chili right now.
No, that wasn't.
She brought in that chili, and next time she's gonna bring enough for everybody else.
I'm gonna try.
She gonna
pitch in some funds, and I'll make a bigger pie.
All right, say less.
That's all you had to say.
Yeah, shoot, you ain't never said no. We can rub two nickels together. We got 2 more minutes.
20 seconds.
20 seconds.
15.
Oh, look, countdown's on. All right, so PC Radio Live, the real home of real talk and real hip hop. Keep it locked right here on this station. Make sure to tune in to Head Nerds in Charge Wednesdays 8 to 10 p.m. Like us on Instagram, Facebook, Space Jam, MySpace, Black Planet, and LinkedIn apparently. Much love to everybody. Keep it locked always, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Get out here.
Okay, bye. Hey, let's go to McDonald's.